How are
Hello,
you?
Melinda. I'm great. Thank you for asking.
Welcome to the Global Virtual Summit 2026.
Thank you for the invitation. I
Bef-
think that you already presented me, right?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So let's start. So, hi everyone. I'm Flavia Salles. It's a pleasure to be here,
Uh,
to be invited.
before before going to start the session, I would like to introduce you to our audience.
Okay, go ahead.
Flavia Sales is an award-winning marketing, sustainability, and innovation leader with 20 plus years of experience. She bridges strategic marketing with circular economy uh, and inclusion to help organization to lead with purpose and resilience. Recognized with the 2025 WCS Award in Sustainability and Innovation, Flavia advocates for inclusive leadership as a climate strategy driving transformation through diversity, storytelling, and authentic brand impact. That was a great bio. The stage is all
Thank you,
yours,
Melinda.
Flavia.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, it's a great introduction. So just to complement, as Melinda said, exactly, I'm a marketing profession. I advocate for sustainability and events as well, such the Climate Week, New York, and the UK Circular Week, and the Poland Circular Week. Okay. Recently, as you mentioned, I won the We Create Space Green Leadership Award in the Sustainability and Innovation category, and that's why I'm presenting this session today on the inclusive leadership as a climate strategy to build resilience organization through diversity. You can see on my screen the QR code for my LinkedIn. You are more than welcome to connect. But anyway, so today I'm not going to talk about inclusion as a human resource policy. I'm here to talk about inclusion as a business strategy, moreover, a climate strategy. Okay, so climate is not an environmental crisis. This can be shock, but it's a system efficient crisis. So what I mean with climate, we are living it already. We experience in our daily basis lives. We are seeing about seeing and hearing about it. Sorry. So climate change is not about weather or emissions only, of course. It's how inefficiently we are using the resource in the current economic system that we are in. I'm talking about we are extracting, we waste, we lose value, and we are creating fragility. Okay, so the problem is how that system um, is designed, not just the environment. We can see here in the screen, it's the planetary boundaries framework. I don't know if you're aware of them, but basically it identifies 9 Earth systems um, that regulate planetary stability, meaning what humankind needs to survive here. And as you can see, I know that is very small. I can try to zoom in. Okay, so as you can see here on the last couple of years, the last update was last year, 2025. From the 9 Earth systems, from the 9, 7 has already been breached. Okay? And the other one here is about the World Economic Forum. They interview leaders from global businesses around the world, and on the next couple of days about their main concerns. As you can see, it's moving to from a long-term concerns around sustainability. All the green blocks here are around sustainability, as you can imagine. So I don't want to scare anyone. This is not an environmental chart. Um, this is a macroeconomic risk exposure map for the entrepreneurs that are here. So let's zoom out for a moment what this actually means. Okay, all the disease here, what I'm saying is the resource misallocation at that planetary scale. So 90%, just for giving you one example, 90% of the biodiversity loss and water stress linked to resource extraction. Today, only around 12% of materials here in the European Union come from recycled resources. It means that nearly 90% of what we extract become waste, emissions, loss. So I think we are not quite aware of the economic cost of not being sustainable. Climate change is often presented as an environmental issue, storms, heat waves, rising seas, but climate is a symptom. Okay, if you look deeper, climate instability is a consequence of what our economic systems are designed. We extract resources, we use them efficiently, and we discard most of that value. We are losing that value. So, in other words, the problem here is not the environment, as we like to frame. The problem is the design of the system itself. So here is the linear economy that the system we are living here, and this is a finite system, and that is the consequence. Okay, that's the stability we are seeing. Diversity loss affects agriculture and food pricing. Water stress affects supply chain and even energy generation. Soil degradation affects commodity stability and climate volatility, increase disasters, costs, and insurance withdrawals. Okay, so here is the current system. We take, we make, we waste, and this is the limit and causes instability. Okay, so the planet will survive, I'm sure of it. But the question is if our economy will. Okay, so markets were built assuming that environmental and that resources stability, but that assumption no longer holds. Oh, sorry, again. So when we talk about circular economy, okay, which is the solution that I'm going to point out here today, we normally think, most of people immediately think about recycling. Okay, this is the circular economy model I'm talking about. But circular economy is more than just recycling because recycling happens at the end of the process. Meanwhile, circularity starts at the design of the systems and to redesign the whole system. So instead of this traditional model, linear extract, produce, use, discard, I'm talking about circularity. It's a system that to aim to keep materials, products, and the value in use for as long as possible. For example, this means redesign products differently, thinking how to waste, how to recover that materials, rethink supply chains. I already mentioned recovers materials, but also creating different models, business models for around repair, use, and even regenerate our systems. Okay, so materials, or you may call resource, is stay in use, and the value is also preserved. And this is the whole point of the circularity. Indeed, uh, this redesign, okay, it's not about activism. I think this is a industrial policy. And I'm here in Spain, so we can see that Europe is leading this circular economy approach. In fact, the Jessica Russell, she is the European Commissioner for Environment, Water Resilience, and Competitive Circular Economy. Her thesis is about circularity means strategic autonomy, industrial resilience, and competitiveness. And she's advocating for example, some policies such as the European Green Deal and the Circular Economy Action Plan. Okay, all of this is focused on strategically autonomy in research. Just moving forward. So climate strategy is a business necessity, okay? And that transition from a linear to a circular model is a system challenge. What I mean with system challenge is that the climate transition is not a single problem with a single solution. It affects everybody: supply chains, materials, regulations, finance, even consumer behavior is affected, and everything at the same time. So when all these systems interact, and to solve this problem requires multiple perspectives, and of course all these discipline needs to work together. So therefore systems problems requires diverse intelligence. And yes, as you can see in the screen, linear thinkers cannot design circular systems because you cannot redesign this traditional model with the same tradition mindset. Okay, you need this intelligence in this collaboration along. For example, engineers talking to marketers, as myself, policy experts talking with, to product designers, supply chain leaders talking to material scientists. This is a cross-function transformation architecture. And of course, I think this demands cognitive diversity, but not a symbolic diversity, a cognitive diversity. Okay? And I'm going to explain this a little bit. Diversity in here, it's not a day program. It's it's about creating leadership and building a diverse team that is not about um, it's not about excluding white straight men here. Okay, let's clear this out. It's about expanding the problem solving bandwidth of the organization itself. Okay, so the question here is cognitive architecture, not identity politics. So that said, let's move forward. I mentioned before that the climate transition requires redesign how the current systems works. Remember circularity? Okay, great. So redesign the systems requires innovation, but innovation rarely comes from identical thinking. You may say, if you prefer, group thinking. Okay, it's another term. So here we have some examples. Research from the BSG shows that company with more diverse leadership teams generate about 90% higher innovation revenue. McKinsey also has another research saying that organizations with greater diversity are more likely to outperform financially when compared with peers. Deloitte also has a similar study saying that diverse and inclusive cultures are 80 times more likely to achieve better business outcomes. Again, not talking about day programs here. But why does this happen? Okay, diversity expands what we call cognitive range. Okay, the variety of ways that people understand problems and company can understand, reach out these problems. So we here today are we are joined from different parts of the world. We all have different backgrounds, different life experience, and I do believe that people who experience different constraints produce different ideas and solutions. Okay, innovation often starts with constraints, a problem, a necessity, a need, and that constraints are not the same for everyone. That's why innovation can come from unexpected places. I'm going to give you some examples. Water scarcity. Okay, Beth Koji grew up in Kenya facing water scarcity. So her solution was to found a company that extracts drinking water directly from the air. To be honest, this sounds a little bit too much hi-fi for me, sci-fi for me. But yes, so this innovation did not came from a boardroom. Okay? It came from her lived experience, exposure to scarcity. And that is a diversity example as an innovation input. Another example, okay? Blind entrepreneurs create startups, join, and we already know that blind people navigate the world differently, right? So they create technologies like AI navigation tools, and smart games with obstacle detection. So that that constraint become technical insight and open new markets and new mobility solutions. So basically, what I want to highlight here is that constraint can become insight, and that insight can become innovation, and that innovation is what companies needs to change to transformation from linear to circular economies. But that diversity expands the range of constraints organization needs to be able to understand different approaches. Perfect. So I hope you are still with me. If you have any questions, just pop up on the comments, and I'm trying to answer them at the end of the session. So just moving forward. So again, if this diverse perspective drive this innovation, the question is why so many organizations still struggle to transform. You can give me your opinion. So I'm going to focus on some of the reasons. The problem is rarely intelligence. Most of companies are full of smart people. Okay, I like to think that. So this is why legacy incentives, and this is very important, everyone. Many organizations are still rewarding short-term performance and operational stability. Focus on that linear economy. Okay, but this transformation that we need requires experimentation, collaboration, and long-term thinking. Okay, fear of margin volatility. This means that leaders often worry that changing business model, especially towards sustainability and circularity, because they think it affects short-term margin, but as European markets are proving it's not true. So innovation becomes something companies talk about, avoid, and even delay. Another one, political friction. Transformation challenge internal power structures. New ideas often require collaboration across departments, and that may create internal resistance. Okay. And finally, I think this is also very important here, cognitive locking. This means that the organization are often locked in looking at the solutions using the same perspective and that even creating the same problem. Okay, so the issue again is not lack of talent. The issue here is how the systems rewards, or in this case, blocks that transformation. And if you want different outcomes, we have to change how leadership systems work as well. And if the transition requires systems redesign, we are creating teams. Why we are creating teams and leaders based on this traditional model? Okay, so this slide compares two different leadership logics. None of them are right or wrong; they are just different, and it's a clear signal changing on leadership that I want to highlight here. Uh, so again, most of organizations identify leaders based on signals that reward operational success. Remember, I can hear these traditional signals. Okay, why the new capabilities for this transitional um, needs to think differently. Okay, so let's go dive in on those. I think we have time to do it. So in this part of the slide, we have the, the, the traditional signals, okay? These are the traits organizations now reward to promote leaders and teams, okay? So charisma, people who speak confidently, inspire teams, communicate clearly, it's great, it's useful, but it doesn't actually guarantee strategic thinking, okay? Strategic insight, moreover. So, familiarity, leaders who fit the existing culture and the leadership style. People who think differently may be excluded. Again, maybe here you have this homogeneous think, the group thinking problem. Okay, it's difficult to think out of the box if everyone's have the same background, the same perspective, the same ideas. Okay, no one will challenge this. Availability, basically, it's that person that is 24/7 available, always present, always responsive. But this can reward visibility instead of impact. And the short-term performance is about, again, leaders who deliver quarterly results. Great. It's important for the business survival, right? We all have our KPIs at the end of the month, so it's needed. But it also may discourage a long-term transformation investment because you need to try out different things. Remember the World Economic Forum chart I showed before? If everyone is just looking at the 2 years main um, concerns instead of the long terms, the sustainability ones, you are not going to reach out. You're not going to transform your company, your business to be able to tackle this. Okay, so let's go to the transformation signals that we need to expect from leaders now on. Okay, the right side here, system thinking. It's about understanding how different parts of the organization interact. And as you can see, they are not competitive. Okay, one doesn't exclude the other one here. Okay, the right side doesn't exclude the left side here. But it's important to see that change. So again, the system thinking is about understanding how supply chains, product design, the resource flows work. Okay, the cross-function integration is your capability of collaboration between these engineering, finance, marketers, and policymakers. Okay, then we have the dissent, constructive dissent. I'm not talking about fighting here. I'm talking about encouraging people to challenge these assumptions. Okay, because why this matters is homogeneous teams agree very quickly, at least very often, too quickly. And this constructive disagreement, although as long they are constructive, they can there's possible to be disagreement because they improve this decision quality that we are looking for. Okay, and the last one, not least, long-term resilience. This is about thinking beyond this quarterly performance we mentioned. Research, for example, research security. Do we have it? Supply chain resilience. Do we have it? Regulatory adaptation. Climate risk preparedness. Are we? Okay. So I like to call this the adaptive value architecture. It explains how organizations are actually operationalize those transformation signals. Transformation is hard, indeed. All change is difficult, yes. But this framework, I think, that helps to see inclusion, from not from a social initiative perspective, like a day perspective, okay, but to a leadership capability, okay. Um, just to simplify it, so the system thinking that we are talking about on the previous slide here, I'm going to talk about these signals here now, okay. So this systems thinking, remember, is now what I call signal diversity. It means that the organization now can detect weak signals from many perspectives. This requires leaders who think systematically, who sees the big picture. Okay, cross-function integration now is circular intelligence. Okay, this refers to the ability to redesign systems across value chains, and to do that, you need to integrate different functions, collaborate. Okay, constructive dissent, as I mentioned before, is not about fighting. Now I call this cognitive friction. Why? Because cognitive is the different perspective, and there is a friction. Okay, and healthy disagreement, it improves decision making. Without it, I think organizations fall again in that group think. And long-term resilience, as we mentioned before, it's called governance alignment here in this framework. So this ensures that decision support long-term resilience, not only short-term performance. This is um, totally different. Okay. So moving forward, what leaders and companies can do? Okay, I s- these are five actions I'm putting here that can help leaders to start building these diverse teams and more resilient organizations. The whole point of this session is about this slide. So why I didn't start with this one, right? So this roadmap connects leadership actions that the systems levels where transformation actually happens. So on the left side, we have the systems levels here. Okay, so these are where the systems must change, where the power is. Okay, on the right side, we have the milestones. In this case, five of them. What to do to make that change happen. So let's go through them very briefly as well. So the first one, redesign promotion criteria. Remember when I talk of why companies are failing that transformation because there's award systems is different. So here, what we should do be doing is update that promotion systems award to the system thinking, collaboration, and long-term resilience. Not only that short-term operational performance, which will just keep moving the current linear economy. Okay. Second, integrate inclusion into the risk governance. Include diverse perspective in risk and scenario planning, and connect these inclusion metrics with strategic risk dashboards. Incentivize cross-function teams. Again, align incentives across departments so that innovation and all the transformation products that are coming from different departments reward collaboration among them, not just silent performance itself. We are four, tie circular targets to capital allocation. Again, if the circularity is important, is very strategically here, the investment decision must reflect it. Okay, so prioritize funding initiatives that improve that resource efficiency and that resilience we all are looking for. And the last one, sponsor cognitive profiles. Okay, actively support leaders that bring different perspectives and experience. Okay, because especially in innovation and transformation roles, this is very important. So we are almost done, but just let be direct. I think this is about economic continuity. For example, air pollution alone generates trillions in health costs globally. Climate disasters are now increasing insurance and loss year over year. Okay, critical raw materials cause dependency, and because they are concentrated in limited geographic, and this also increases geopolitical exposure and conflicts. Okay, so if sustainability were only about the planet, I think this would be an ethical conversation, but it's not. This is about, again, economic business continuity. If you are still thinking in terms of lower social environmental impact, it's not activist. Okay? This is intelligent risk management. And I think it's important just to wrap up to, I think these slides summarize this very well. This is not a moral argument. Okay, homogeneous leadership concentrate this risk, and diverse thinking expand the ability to detect problem early, as we saw before. Okay, so the recap here is climate instability reveals that the current systems design is flaws, has flaws, okay, the linear ones. So the circular economy came as a solution to redesign that system. But to redesign that system requires innovation, okay? New ideas, new perspective. So that innovation requires that diverse perspectives, okay? And that inclusive leadership that I'm advocating here today is what expands those perspectives. And I would like to close with two simple ideas before going to the Q&A session. The first one is that climate transition is also a leadership challenge. It requires that system redesign I mentioned, and the system redesign requires diverse leadership. Second one is the inclusive leadership is not about representation. It's about expanding the range of ideas that an organization can see and most importantly, act on. So the company that will adapt fast are not necessarily the biggest one, thank God, but the ones that can learn faster, collaborate better, and integrate diverse perspective into decision making. And in a world of climate uncertainty that we are living, that diversity of thinking becomes a strategic advantage because resilience not come from thinking the same way. It comes from thinking together differently. Okay, thank you very much. I think we can go to the Q&A session. But anyway, if anyone would like to continue the conversation, I leave here my QR code for my LinkedIn. I will be happy to connect there. Always a pleasure to talk about marketing, technology, innovation, sustainability, and leadership. And I can ask you the Roma questions, okay? When your organization discuss this climate strategy, how many different perspectives are actually present in the room? Okay, because that diversity of perspective may determine the quality of the decisions that are going to follow. Okay, diversity is important not because it's fair. It means decision quality, innovation capacity, risk management, and organization resilience. Thank you. Okay, let me see here. We have some questions. Karen, how does... Hi, Melinda. Are you going to make the questions or should I make the
That
questions?
was hi. That was the wonderful, informative session. Uh, we gained a lot of knowledge from you. We have a few questions from our audience.
Okay.
Let me ask you one of them. What is one practical step leaders can take to ensure diverse voices are included in climate decision making?
Okay, what is one practical step leaders can take to ensure diverse voices are included in climate decision making? So remember my slide on the 5 steps? I think you can start with one of them, right? So try to ask yourself who we are missing in this conversation. Do we have different voices, different backgrounds, different perspective? This will help you to include all the voices that matter in this decision making around climate strategy.
Okay, thank you. We have few more questions from our audience. We will share it
Sure.
to your email so that you can answer there.
Which the questions?
You can answer there in the mail. We share it to your email.
Yeah, of course, I can share my email. Let me share again my presentation if you want.
Okay. No, 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 no.
Just give me a moment, guys.
Ping in the chat. Can you ping it in chat?
On the right side, yeah, I can read the chat.
Okay.
Okay, I can read the questions if you prefer. So I have another question here. How can young people practice inclusive leadership while contributing to climate action? First of all, I think never stop advocating for climate action is the good point here. And remember also these other uh, signals of leadership I mentioned on that slide is, let
You're
me go back
not.
here. So it is one here. Okay. You should be thinking on system thinking, cross-function integration, and the constructive dissent, long-term resilience. If you can practice these uh, um, uh, stats, you'll be practicing inclusive leadership as well. And the other question that I have here from Karen is how does inclusive leadership directly influence the success of climate strategy within organization or communities? This is a very important question. It's often questioning in board meetings, right? About how much diversity can be measured in terms of business value. First of all, there are different ways to measure. It depends on the organization, but three metrics that we can use. For example, diversity in innovation teams is often correlated higher rates of the product development and problem solving capabilities, as we saw with some of the studies from the McKinsey, BCG, and Deloitte. So I mentioned McKinsey shows that companies with greater ethnic and cultural diversity are significantly more likely to outperform their peers financially. This is one example. Diverse leadership also and teams are also better at identifying blind spots in strategic and supply chain risk. Okay, so the real value appears in better decisions, better innovation, and that strong resilience that we are all looking. I
Okay.
hope
Thank,
this answer your questions.
thank you for answering all the questions.
Of course.
Please stay on the backstage. Please join our next sections. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Nice to be here. Bye bye.
Bye bye.